Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be reviewing what's going on in Israel and what Israelis think of this war. So we're going to start off with a post where CNN's Wolf Blitzer is asking about whether the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, knew about the many civilians at this refugee camp that would be massacred if Israel tried to attack and could kill this obviously very fake Hamas commander. It's like, is the Hamas commander in the room with us right now? It's like, they're just making these things up, saying that there's a Hamas commander in the tunnels below to blow up refugees, to blow up civilians as much as possible. But let's just watch. And one thing I want you to take note of is this IDF spokesperson, if I understand correctly, he's actually from Scotland. So this is obviously a very colonial enterprise. I think that when they were doing this, when they put him out there as a spokesperson, they're like, oh, he's going to speak like a Westerner. He has a Western accent. So people will relate to him more. But people are like, no, actually, we are recognizing more and more that this is just a colonialist power and not actually native to the region. So let's just watch this video real quick.
But even if that Hamas commander was there amidst all those Palestinian refugees who are in that Jabalia refugee camp, Israel still went ahead and dropped a bomb there.
Okay, so a couple things to note here is it's shocking to have even Wolf Blitzer against the IDF in this instance, because Wolf Blitzer is a known Zionist, very sympathetic to Zionism, and so him like pushing this IDF person is pretty shocking. Another thing is, I really want you to pay attention to how this IDF spokesperson gaslights Wolf Blitzer here, because he'll say no but then he actually does essentially admit that Wolf Blitzer is being honest. So just really interesting gaslighting tactics by this IDF spokesperson.
They're attempting to kill this Hamas commander, knowing that a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children, presumably would be killed. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's not what you're hearing, Wolf. We're focused on this commander, again,
So, really want to emphasize this, even though I told you to watch for it. It's like, what he's about to say is, we are focused on the commander, and we were willing to accept a few hundred civilian casualties in order to potentially kill this commander in a tunnel underneath, supposedly underneath, which you're going to see at the end of the interview too. They're not even sure about the details. They can't release any names, things like that. It's just really ridiculous. But he does go on to say right now that they were willing to accept those civilian casualties.
You'll get more data who this man was. Killed many, many Israelis. We're doing everything we can. It's a very complicated battle space. There could be infrastructure there. There could be tunnels there. We're still looking into it, and we'll give.
So he's talking about there could be tunnels there. I mean, if you're going to be supposedly bombing a Hamas commander that is in these tunnels, shouldn't you know if there's tunnels underneath there? It's very obvious, just based on how this guy is talking, that they were just bombing a refugee camp. And there's people that still support this in the West.
Give you more data as the hour moves ahead.
But you know that there are a lot of refugees, a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children in that refugee camp as well, right?
This is the tragedy of war, Wolf. I mean, as you know, we've been saying for days, move south. Civilians that are not involved with Hamas, please move south.
I'm just trying to get.
I didn't catch that the first few times I watched this, but they said the villains that are not involved with Hamas move south. So what they're essentially saying is, if you didn't move south, then you deserve to be bombed because you're a Hamas sympathizer, you're a villain, as he liked to call them. And the thing is, that's really ridiculous, is some people tried to move south and they were bombed along the way.
Get a little bit more information. You knew there were civilians there, you knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp attempting to kill the Hamas commander. By the way, was he killed?
I can't confirm yet. There'll be more updated. Yes, we know that he was killed. About the civilians there, we're doing everything we can to minimize. I'll say it again. Sadly, they are hiding themselves within civilian population. And again, we are doing this stage by stage, and we're going to go after every one of these terrorists who was involved in that heinous attack on the 7th of October. Wolf.
Lieutenant Colonel, I'm having trouble hearing you.
So that is the end of that video, but you can clearly see here that any amount of civilian casualties are acceptable to these people so long as they can pretend like they're killing some Hamas person involved, which we know is illegitimate because they're killing people in the West Bank as well, and there's no Hamas there. So, but let's see what the Israelis think. Is the Israeli population as genocidal as their leaders? Because if they are, this is maybe one of the true democracies of the world, because in the rest of the world, the people are totally against what Israel's doing, and the elites are totally for what Israel's doing. So let's see. According to the Israel Democracy Institute, 83.4% of Israeli Jews don't think that Israel should take into consideration the suffering of the civilian population in Gaza. So the vast majority of Israeli Jews are responsible for these war crimes. They are supporting these war crimes that are being committed right now. So that's the situation that we find ourselves in, that the Israeli Jews are completely supportive of their government at this point. I shouldn't say completely. There's still an almost 17% that aren't supportive, but you see that the vast majority are. I mean, this is the will of the people. When the Israeli government is genocidal against the Palestinians, that is the will of the people. I believe I remember seeing some videos, maybe it was by Abby Martin, like just going around talking to various Israelis, and they are actively genocidal. The Israeli Jews are actively genocidal towards pretty much everyone that isn't them. So that's the democracy of the Middle East. They are following the will of their people, which is to not take into consideration the suffering of the civilian population in Gaza. So let's see what's all involved in that. So we see here southern Lebanon. A new Amnesty investigation has found that the Israeli army indiscriminately and therefore unlawfully used white phosphorus in an attack on Darya in South Lebanon on October 16th. The attack must be investigated as a war crime. This is by Amnesty International. So these are the types of things that the Israeli population is in support of. And we see, luckily, there are certain resistance members who are fighting against the genocidal Israeli Zionist. And we see Hezbollah has published an official list of claimed Israeli losses: 120 soldiers, 9 tanks, 2 APCs, 2 other vehicles, 1 UAV, 33 radars, 69 communication systems, 140 cameras, 33 radars. Oh wait, they say 33 radars twice. 17 jamming systems. These losses are the result of attacks on 105 different military sites belonging to the IDF. The interesting thing here is, even if it's slightly exaggerated, you see that they're really focusing on getting rid of the surveillance equipment. And I suspect that would mean that they're hoping to more actively get engaged with the enemy by taking out the communication, radar, cameras, etc. So really interesting for things to come, but we see that luckily there are resistance members that are fighting against the genocidal Zionists. So on this channel, we do not believe in violence, but self-defense is something that is allowed, and stopping a genocide is something that I think everyone should be in support of. If you found this video on the Israeli mindset and current Israeli ongoings to be of interest, please like this video, give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel on both YouTube and Rumble for more content. And leave us a comment in the comment box below. Questions, concerns, critiques, I read all of them. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.